All right, let's talk. Okay. All right, let's talk about some. Are you done? Okay. All right, let's talk about some holsters. Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount Tactical Solutions, your source for guns, gear, training, and tactics, all brought to you by Real World Experience. So today we're going to talk about holsters. And one of the questions that I get asked the most is, hey, what is the best concealed carry holster? And I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret. There isn't any. All right, so there's no one perfect holster. And you know, anytime that you come to one of our courses, one of the things that we talk a lot about during when we're teaching tactics or techniques or whatever it happens to be, is we talk about mindset and methodology. You got to know the why behind what we're talking about, right? So let's change everybody's mindset when it comes to concealed carry holsters. If you're serious about carrying a gun all the time, which you should, right? We need to carry 100% of the time. There's lots of reasons why people don't, and most people don't, but we need to carry all the time. But if you're serious about doing that, you're gonna have to invest time, money, trial and error in holsters and in multiple holsters. Holsters really should be kind of considered like shoes, right? We don't just have one pair of shoes. We got running shoes, we got work boots, we got snow boots. We got different shoes for almost every type of occasion, and holsters are the exact same way. So when it comes to concealed carry, there's definitely some principles about holsters that I want us to lay out on the table and talk about the things that we need to do, or the characteristics of these different holsters that will allow us to carry all the time. And one of the things that I've been guilty of, and I know a lot of clients have been guilty of because we talk about it, is you can't let perfect get in the way of good enough. And what do I mean by that is there are some things that we talk about when it comes to carrying guns that are kind of like the best case scenario, or what we want to do, right? But we can't always do that, and we have to be practical and be a little bit pragmatic when it comes to this, so that we actually have a gun within reach of us almost all the time. So first of all, when people talk about holsters, and I got a wide variety of holsters here. Most of the time when we're talking about holsters, we're talking about an inside the waistband type holster. This is an appendix carry holster. Let me just start off by saying there is nothing more dangerous than sticking guns in your pants and then pulling them out and deploying them under stress. I mean, almost nothing more dangerous. And so one of the things I would definitely say is, before you even get to where you're using an inside the waistband holster, folks, you need to have a couple thousand rounds in a training environment where people have watched you, you've gone over, you have good repetition, you're familiar with the firearm, you've gone through some scenario-based training. That's what we require before you even come to our concealed carry course, which we call our advanced concealed carry courses, which is a very in-depth, comprehensive course when it comes to, and it's a series, right? We have 1, 2, and 3. But before you can even come to that course, you have to take our handgun level 1, our handgun level 2, and one of our medical courses. And that's a whole nother ball of wax. But point being is, before you start putting guns in your pants, all right, you got to have a lot of experience, or at least a fair amount of experience, and be well trained and know how to do that carefully, know how to do that safely, so that you're not a danger to yourself or others. So that's first and foremost. We got to have training. And that is also why most people don't carry a firearm. Something like 90% of all people with concealed carry permits don't carry a firearm regularly. And that's because in reality, they are not comfortable carrying a firearm. All right? They know that they are not comfortable, they're not safe, and quite frankly, probably not competent carrying a gun all the time. And they don't know, right? They also don't know what equipment works for them. No one's ever told them. They went and took a couple-hour course, maybe online. They probably didn't even have to shoot, and somebody said, hey, now you can carry a gun and you're good to go. Well, you're not, right? So again, you need training. We'd love to have you come out and do some training with us. And again, that's what it always boils down to. But I do want to give you some principles when it comes to picking out a holster. So first and foremost, again, we can't have one holster that's going to do everything for us. The other thing I would say is, the less amount of clothing that we have between us in the holster, the better we are. The faster we're going to get that gun out, and the safer it's going to be. Anytime that we're going through, you know, a jacket, a coat, everything else, and then getting to that gun, pulling it out of our pants, all right, it slows things down. It's not nearly as safe. There's a lot more room for error, right? So anytime that you can, a couple things that you need to remember is go with an outside the waistband holster. Maybe, and usually this is what I carry in the winter, right? So in the winter, I'm usually carrying an outside the waistband holster that is concealed by one layer of clothing, and that is a jacket. All right, it's outside the waistband, but I can still get to that very quickly, deploy that safely. And because I have that outer garment that allows me to do that while staying concealed, it just makes a lot of sense. The other thing that you need to know, not really holster related, but concealed carry related, is you need to carry as much gun as you can. You will always shoot a larger frame gun better. It requires less recoil. You have a longer sight radius. There's a lot of advantages of carrying one of those full-size guns, and that goes for ladies too. I can't tell you how many courses a lady comes in and she brings in this little tiny pistol that her husband got. Folks, shooting a small pistol, a subcompact or compact pistol, is again an advanced skill. It's harder to shoot those well, even for ladies that are smaller or even small frame people. It's much more difficult to shoot accurately. You have a shorter sight radius on those shorter guns. You have additional recoil. They're actually putting that slide back to the rear, lock that slide back to the rear, usually have a stronger spring in there, so it's more difficult. So again, smaller guns are harder to shoot, just plain and simple. So again, we want to try to keep that gun outside outside the waistband if possible. If we can't, all right, we start looking at different concealed carry methods. Again, we have a inside the waistband. This one can be used for appendix carry. This is an inside the waistband that can be used at any point, you know, whether you're a 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, depending on your left hand, right hand, or all the way back to the 5 o'clock. The other thing that we need to remember is that the farther that we get away from our 12 o'clock, as we start going out here, all right, that slows, we are getting slower and slower on the draw. You get back here at the 5 o'clock or small of the back carry, that is by far the slowest draw there is. I don't want to get into appendix carry and the debate over the safety of that, but I will tell you right now that that is the fastest way to deploy a firearm because it is right here at your 12 o'clock. So anytime we start going undergarments and we start moving to the outside of our body, all right, we're slowing down that draw process. And it's just something else that you need to think about, consider, and understand. Let's talk about some other types of holsters. You know, there's a lot of different holsters out there. I have spent thousands of dollars on holsters trying different ones out. That doesn't mean that you need to. There are some pretty good holsters that we've kind of determined. Some of the holsters we carry on our website. You can go check out ParamountTactical.com and you can check those out. But a couple different options that you have. Here are some holsters that are very good quality, very comfortable. This is the natesquare. We're not affiliated with them. Natesquare Tactical, N82 Tactical, however you want to say it. These are extremely comfortable. I really like these. They do get a little bit warm. Now they have these, all right. I will tell you that it's been my experience that anytime that I have a double clipped holster, I tend to not reach for that because quite frankly, it is a little bit more secure, but it's not nearly as easy to put on. And I just tend to use those less. So, you know, something to think about. This is their standard one, and this is the Pro Series. This one actually has some active retention where you actually have to grab the gun, rotate it in. It's very secure. This thing will not fall out unless you do that. It also, again, is something that you got to train with. So there's some different options out there. When we're talking about outside the waistband holsters, what you're looking for is something that is form-fitting. You can see how this particular holster is very curved. It does, let me back this up, it does form to your body so that it's much more easily concealed. Now the thing is, when you're looking at a lot of these holsters, we need to remember that that is going to make that gun ride high, and it's just something that you need to be aware of. That does slow down the draw. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So just something else to think about and train through, get used to, right? And every time that you gear up to go outside and you're concealed carry, which should be every time you're going outside, right? You have a gun on you. Make sure that you practice with an empty gun with that clothing set, right? Because every clothing is different almost every single time. So you need to practice with that particular garment, whatever your outer garment, whether it's a t-shirt, whether, there's definitely characteristics of certain clothes that make it more difficult or have some unique challenges that other garments just don't have. So make sure you practice with whatever you got going on there. One of the holsters that I use actually the most, I'm sure you all have seen this. This is actually sticky holsters. I actually bought one of these several years ago, and my intention was to basically prove what a terrible idea this was. And I actually used it. My thought process was that you would be able to access the gun. That's clear. You'd be able to access the trigger rather through this, and you actually can't. These are actually very well made. These are not the perfect answer all the time, but where I end up using these a lot is if I'm just running to the store or something like that. I throw a gun in there, I stick it in my pants. It is very secure, it holds really well, very comfortable, and it works really good. The other thing, once I get into the vehicle, a lot of times I'll pull this out with the gun in it and I stick it in between the seats so that gun and that pistol grip is presented so I can grab that and ready to go. So these are actually a good option. And again, convenience has to be part of your planning process when you're looking for holsters. You got to make sure that you're carrying all the time, because the one time that you don't carry is when it's going to matter. So whatever you need to do to ensure that you're carrying every single time, I suggest that you do it. Probably the holster that I use the most, this is a Comptac, I think it's the Infidel Max. Again, they're on our website. I use this holster with this P365 every single day. It's got a lot of wear and tear on it. I've ran many courses with this holster. It's very comfortable. It's very durable. The quality of these is really good. This backing is leather, and then we have a Kydex, or it's probably injected molded plastic up front, but it's very durable. All right, it's very tough. Again, I really like that holster. I use it all the time. Definitely check that out on our website. Going back to that sticky holster, while I use this a lot, the other way that I use this a lot is this is what they call their ankle biter kit. All right, and you can look this up on YouTube, and there's much more in-depth tutorials of how this works. But this by far is the best ankle holster setup that I have used to date. And I've tried just about every one of them that I know of out there. Now, I use ankle carry a lot. There are lots of times when you just can't carry around your waist, or it doesn't make sense to. One is like if you're in dress clothes, right? And you have your shirt tucked in. There are many times that if I hadn't had an ankle carry setup, I would not have carried. And again, it just makes it real nice. What's cool about this is it does have a retention strap. I actually don't usually use this retention strap with the pistol, to be honest with you. I found that I just don't need it, but I've ran with this thing with a pistol in there. I've jumped up and down. I've tried to, dislodge this, and if you have this set up correctly, it won't. What is also really nice, because that the holster portion is independent of the strap portion, is that you can angle this. And I found with certain clothing, I've had to find different angles and cant that firearm in different ways so that it concealed the best way possible. So another option out there. Another thing I definitely want you to consider, I don't use these a lot, but they do come in handy when nothing else is working, and that is these belly bands, right? The one that I use the most, it's right here. Wait, no, that's not it. That's the one I wear on Tuesdays. The one I use the most is this one right here. I really like this. Again, we don't sell these. I have no association with them, but I ordered several of these online, and yeah, so I like this one. So when you're going jogging, I've been to the park, in nothing but, running shorts and, a t-shirt. These definitely make a nice option. They also make a really nice option for a lot of women. Women's clothing, And I'm just trying to educate you men out there a little bit, because I used to be of the mindset, I tell my wife, hey, I want you to conceal carry. And, you know, I'd say, hey, look, just use this pistol, just use this holster. It works for me, it's gonna work for you. That's not how it works, right? Because they dress differently. Most of their clothes are much more form-fitting, so they gotta get a little bit more creative usually than just our standard, you know, inside the waistband holster. Another option that I like, I don't tend to use it as much, but it is pretty good, is this Tack belly band. Also a good option. And what I do like about both of these, and I actually utilize this, is I'm carrying not only a firearm, but I'm also carrying a tourniquet and usually some sort of pressure bandage or chest seal as well. So those are other things that you should be thinking about for your everyday carry. If you have a choice between extra magazine or medical gear that needs to correspond with actual training, and again, come see us, but you need to pick medical gear every single time. Tourniquets, pressure bandage, things like that. Another option that I definitely recommend is, again, we have a fanny pack. There's a couple of these that I really like. This one is made by Don't Tread on Me. This is actually a really nice, flat, form-fitting, nice piece of kit, very well made. I think they're 30 or 40 bucks, but they're well worth it. And again, I don't like wearing fanny packs, but there are times in the gym especially, that's what I got these for. So that when I'm in the gym, there was too many times I was working out and I'm like, man, I don't have a gun on me. And you know, that's unsat. So I bought these, and these actually sit underneath my shirt and you can't even see them. And then if I need to do squats or do something where these get in the way, I just rotate them out of the way. I might even rotate it to the back. They stay out of the way. What I especially like about this 511 one, it doesn't look tactical, right? And neither one of those look like they're big enough to actually hold a firearm. And the way that these work, all right, so this, they actually have a false pocket. I mean, it's a real pocket, but the muzzle goes into this area over here. So then you can close this portion up, you zip it up. It's very low pro. This particular 511 one looks, you know, if you're out on vacation traveling and you were wearing this, you wouldn't look out of place. And you know, for you guys that are, you know, too cool for a fanny pack, you know, there was a time when I was insecure too, so it's okay. It happens to the best of us. No, but anyways, it is an option, right? So just because it's not the coolest option, it is what it is. But I will say that this, you know, there's a lot of fanny packs out there that if you're wearing it, you're like, oh, that guy's carrying. I don't really care if that's the case anyhow, but this is one of those options that it doesn't look like you're carrying. And again, inside here, I want you to see, inside here we have this battle wrap. I'm gonna do a separate video on battle wrap. This is one of the best products that kind of encompasses. So this works as a really good, what it's designed for is a pressure bandage. It does really well for that. You can create a tourniquet with these. You're just wrapping it tighter and tighter and tighter to where you can occlude blood flow to an appendage. So if you can't carry anything else, these work really well. These also, I don't know, it's like 8 feet of chest seals. So there's a lot of good utility out of this one package, and there's no excuse. You can put this in your pocket, you can put it in your fanny pack, you can put it wherever, in your wife's purse, keep it on your person. And again, there's no excuse for not carrying medical gear. You gotta do some research, have some training so that you can utilize it correctly and when you need to use it. So, but that's a great product, and we will do a separate video on that. Let's go back to these kind of fanny packs. One of the things that we want to try to avoid the best that we can is off-body carry, right? So carrying it in a separate bag or in a purse, things like that. We want to try to avoid that, but what I will say is don't get locked into that it's never an option. It's not the best option. If you do decide to do that, you got to definitely be more conscious of that, where that bag is. You can't just leave that bag. You got to be really situationally aware when it comes to that. So, but that is a better option than not carrying it at all. I would just say that. So again, you can't let perfect get in the way of good enough. And it's not ideal, and it's not what we want, and it's not what we preach, But I will tell you, there are times like when my wife's like, hey, I have no other options to carry a gun. Well, put it in your purse then, fine. You know, but try to exhaust all other options, because that purse or that bag or whatever else, you could leave it behind or it could get snatched from you. Those are things that could happen, but they're still more unlikely to happen. It's more of a perceived threat than a reality. I mean, it can happen, but again, it's unlikely. So again, make sure that you're, another option we have here, this is like if I'm going out in the woods or something like that. This is a Maxpedition fanny pack. It's huge, right? I actually carry this as like crossbody, you know, a crossbody pack. I have I'll carry a full-size gun, ammunition, maybe some snacks, maybe some things going on in here, maybe some additional med gear. But this right here is my med pouch. I actually fill this up anytime that we're going, and I will dress anytime that I'm going somewhere. I do a little bit of a risk assessment of where we're going, what I expect to be there, and I dress or pack accordingly, right? You need to do your own risk assessment. If you're going out in the woods, think of some stuff that you're going to need for the woods. You know, how many people are going? If something really bad happened, we had a mass casualty event, you know, how many tourniquets would I need? How many chest seals would I need? Those are things that you need to be thinking about, as well as the firearm and the ammunition, right? You're much more likely to save a life with a tourniquet, chest seal, pressure bandage than you ever will with a firearm. It's good to have both skills. The other thing that, when I was talking about different holsters, right? We need to have 4 or 5 different holsters. There's probably 4 to 5 different holsters that I use on a regular basis and that I wouldn't go without. One of the options out there, this is the Shapeshift holster kit by Alien Gear. It doesn't do everything perfectly, but what it does is it gives you 4 different holsters for $100. As opposed to buying 4 holsters for $100 each. They're not duty quality or something like that, but they work, and they're gonna work for 99% of the time for 99% of the population. What I will say though, contrary to that, is and it comes in this kit, the appendix carry, this holster right here. When you have this in the appendix carry configuration, it is probably one of the best and most comfortable appendix carry holsters I've ever used. What is also cool about this, and this goes with most of the different options on there, is that you can actually take off one of these keepers, and when it comes to your retention, you can micro adjust by turning this there's a little wheel there, look it up on YouTube. But there's a little wheel there that you can micro adjust your retention level, all right, or tension level. So again, something nice, and that is actually a really nice holster. Again, try to avoid off-body carry when you can, but don't completely disregard that as an option. Worst case scenario, the key here is to always have a gun on you. If you don't have a gun and you're not committed to it, just leave the thing at home. And again, we'd love to have you come out and do some training with us. I promise you, you will be comfortable with a firearm. You will know what you're good at. We're gonna put you through different scenario-based training events, as well as have all kinds of different gear that we're gonna allow you to use, and you can try and figure out what works for you. Now, just because I recommend a holster, I do kind of go through, as well as our cadre, we go through different products and we see what the quality is, the build quality, you know, how well it works, all this other good stuff. But one of the things that ultimately comes down to is also personal preference, because I can say, hey, this is a really good piece of kit, it works for me. Doesn't mean that you're gonna like it. All right, it may work for you, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna like it. So while we can mitigate the risk of overspending or buying, you know, holsters and things like that that aren't gonna work, doesn't mean that there isn't any, right? You might spend some money and determine that holster is not good, and you probably can't take it back, because now you got it all sweaty and you've worn it, and sell it to somebody or give it away. But the point is that if you're carrying a gun on you, that is a life-saving piece of equipment. So I think it's worth the time and energy to invest some money into it, and to invest some trial and error to find out what works for you for most of the time. So hopefully we didn't get too in the weeds with too many things. I wanted to try to keep this as short as possible. If there's a particular holster that you'd like us to talk about more in depth on that particular holster, or a piece of kit, or maybe something I didn't even mention up here, definitely let us know down below. But check out our Facebook page, Paramount Tactical Solutions. Check out our Instagram, Paramount_Tactical. And as always, definitely check out our website, because what we want you to do is come train with us. That's what this is all about, all right? I want to get you training with us. And I don't care if you live in California, I don't care where you live. We have clients that come from Europe and train with us. So come do some training with us. All our instructors are former special operations. All of us are federally accredited. We know what we're doing, and we have operational experience along with that training experience. And we'll make sure that you have a good time. You'll learn a lot. You'll become a better shooter for sure. You know, you might even become a better person. And you know, that's quite possible. But definitely subscribe below. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon.